a suit and tie and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
David Whiting is your talkback lawyer. He's struggling a little bit with the headphones here. We can always take all the time that you need, David, in order to sort. It's not plugged in. David, you can say good morning and Katrina will come in and fix up your headphones because we're not plugged in.
Good morning, Virginia.
Good morning.
I think we are now plugged in.
Are you plugged
I'm
in?
not now plugged in.
No, you're not plugged in.
No.
Katrina is going to become chief tech and cook and bottle wash here, and she's gesticulating. Jules, do you need a second pair of hands here? Let's get everyone in the studio. No, it still doesn't work.
Failing.
Nothing's working. Shall I take the calls, do you think, David?
Yeah, why don't you do them today and I'll just see yes or no.
While we're plugging in, because I know you can work with a lot of distractions, why don't you take us through the homework? Because we had a bit of homework last week and a very interesting organisation was listening to us.
Well, last week the element of homework was Angela, and Angela lives in a block of units with, in Angela's view, extensive cladding which is flammable, and she couldn't get the Cladding Safety Victoria to get them to assist with their problem. And so the question, but Cladding Safety Victoria rang me and said,
nice.
We were listening and we heard, and here's some information, which
now,
I think will be a benefit to everybody.
Can you hear yourself now? You still can't?
No.
No. Okay, so we're still not. So I think we might actually end up...
Shall I move?
Well, we might move you. What do you think, Jules? Shall we move? Yes. We'll move you down the end. So I'm going to be I'll play the interval music. Da-da-da-da-da-da. While you actually move and see if you can get some sound in your cans. We're only a radio studio. This actually is just our business in hand. It's what we do on a daily basis. You'd think we could get it right.
Oh, normally you do.
Can you hear yourself, David? All right. So they were listening. That's nice they were listening. What'd they say?
Okay, you've got to recognise that Cladding Safety Victoria is essentially an organisation that's been given $600 million to reduce the impact of cladding problems from a social environment, not necessarily from an individual owner. So we're looking at it from a community point of view.
So what do you mean?
Well, what I mean is
this is, sorry to jump in, this isn't an organisation that will then come along and help the owner of a building to reclad their building?
Yes, they will,
right,
but they only have a finite amount of money.
Yep.
So the policy that they've adopted is that every building with cladding gets rated, and it gets rated extreme, high, moderate and low.
Right.
So what they've done is they've come along and said, well, at the outset we will fund the rectification of buildings which are classified as extreme and high because we don't have enough money to keep going and doing the ones that are moderate and low.
Okay.
All right. So the process is that every municipal building surveyor, so every council, works out which of the buildings in their municipality that have cladding issues. It rates them. It refers the ones that are extreme and high onto Cladding Safety Victoria, and Cladding Safety Victoria then finances, by issuing grants, finances the work that's required to fix the building. It takes an assignment of the right to recover any damages that might be the responsibility of if anyone who's in the chain, and they could at some stage in the future, if they wish to, commence proceedings against whoever was ultimately responsible. So it's really, I've got a limited amount of money. If I give everybody 20% of the cost of fixing the problem, no problems will get fixed. So they've come along and said, let's avoid a Grenfell, the building in London that had the horrible problem, and say, let's fix all of the bad ones.
Yep.
But we've only got a finite amount of money. So I think the process is reasonable.
So the outcome for our caller is?
The outcome from the caller is it would appear that the building's been misclassified, but the reports that they've got says that the damage was moderate, which means that the risk would be on the owner, and the funding isn't available. So what they are going to do is going to get an engineer's report to confirm whether the preliminary assessment is right or wrong, and their indications are that they believe, but it's going to cost them $35,000 for an engineer to review the cladding on the property and determine whether it's extreme or high or moderate.
Oh dear, I don't feel like I've got a good solution for our caller at all. Really.
Well, no, but the cost per unit, so there's I think there were 21 units in the building, and it was
Yeah.
going to cost an estimated $100,000 each to fix the cladding. So I think $35,000 for an engineer's report is a fairly cheap option.
I don't know who should be more insulted here by this text message, David Whiting. You guys are like the Australian men's cycle team, says one. Oh, yeah. The handlebars fell off, I guess. Fell off
Very
our show
good.
this morning.
Yep,
But we reattached them.
we did.
John in Sorrento, you are first up. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm ringing concerning my wife and a friend went for a coffee in early March. The property has a brick terrace which is laid on sand as far as we can determine.
Mm-hmm.
As my wife was leaving, she tripped on a loose brick and fell heavily.
Oh, dear.
Um,
Did she injure herself badly, John?
Well, she had a radial fracture of the left wrist, as it turned out.
Right.
But her friend picked up the brick and put it on the table and called the young man who was apparently at the business and said, look, this is very dangerous. You should do something about it. So later on, the man's father, whom I've known for 20 years, came and said, look, we're terribly sorry, and any out-of-pocket expenses we'd like to fix up, blah, 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 blah. Well, that was 5 months ago. I emailed them, and they said that they were putting it through their insurance company, and it was very slow.
Yes.
But nothing's happened. And I don't know whether to sort of chase them legally, in other words, throw good money after bad, or what? I don't know my position.
I would, John. I would simply agitate more with the owner, and whether it's you simply go and knock on the door and say, well, what are you going to do about it?
Well, it turns out that the gentleman is not the owner; his sons are the owner.
I then go and talk to the sons and see. I mean, I don't know that I would be. Is your wife retired?
Oh, we're both in our 80s.
Right, so it's not a question of income, it's really just a question of pain and suffering and medical injuries, medical costs.
And I hate being ignored.
Oh, understood.
Fair
Good
enough.
thing we spoke to you first then, wasn't it, John? Right. So I just go and knock on the door and say, well, if you made the claim, what's the insurance company doing? Do you want more information? And I'm saying that because I don't know that in financial sense your claim's worth a great deal of money. So you might be worse off by engaging legal advice in the circumstances you've described.
So go and knock on the door, have a further conversation. John, good luck to you and your wife. Carol in Ocean Grove, what's happening with you? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. I'll start with the beginning. In 2003, it was a Monday morning. It was at the end
I know,
of
don't need all those details. Tell us what's going on, Carol.
Okay. I was just going to tell you about the story, though. My brother died very suddenly then. He literally died on the floor. And a few years after his death, my sister and I and our mother, who was still alive at the time, found out that he actually had another son who was much younger than his then adult children.
Mm-hmm.
Carol,
Yep.
where are we getting to?
I really want to know if there's any advice on how we can track this young man down, because he tried to contact family apparently sometime over the years and
Yes.
was rebuffed through a legal process which my sister and I didn't know about.
Then I would start at the lawyer who did the rebuffing.
We don't know who it is, though. We have no way of finding out because there's been no contact with the family.
I understand, but my guess is that your dad will have gone to a lawyer, the person who died will have gone to
My
a lawyer.
brother.
Your brother will have gone to a lawyer that he was familiar with. So perhaps it's the lawyer who made his will. It could be any of those things.
No, it was someone completely different apparently.
Then-
My brother actually died.
So how long ago was the rebuffing?
15 years.
It's going to be difficult. People change computer systems, people lose their paperwork, all sorts of issues.
Exactly.
I would probably pick a geographical area and then write to all the law firms. Have you ever acted for? I've got this really issue. He had a son and I'm trying to locate.
Carol, do you have a name?
We only know that the mother's name was Margaret, and we think
You don't need to say
that-
the names here, but do you don't have a name of this now? He'd be a man, I guess. Of
He'd
this
be in
person?
his early 30s. We have what we believe is his Christian name, but we don't know surnames.
So, but Virginia, the lawyer that the brother went to will have opened a file in
Sure.
the brother's name, not in the name of the...
That seems a little needle in a haystacky, what you're proposing. Is that the only way, David?
Well, there's nowhere, because...
You can't really Google this, can you? You don't have a surname.
We don't know. I don't know that births, deaths and marriages would record births, because we don't know whether Margaret added Carol's brother's name on
No,
the
we
birth
don't.
certificate.
Yeah.
So we don't even
don't know
know
either. No.
if there's anything there.
Yeah.
No.
But well, Carol, that seems to be the best suggestion this
Yeah,
morning.
so where did he live? Where did the brother live? Where did the brother work? Approach law firms in that area. Strange request, but did you ever act for? And if so, we'll come back and I'll engage you again.
It's a detective job.
Yes.
It's actually a bit of a detective job, and if you have the time and the inclination, it could be quite a rewarding one. Stay in touch with us. The detective agency, I think, that Jacinta runs might be interested in this one too. Steve in Carrum Downs. Steve, what's happening? Good morning.
Hi. About 14 years ago, my wife and I bought a house in Bomb Beach. And when we bought it, I got a copy of the sewer plan because I'm in the building industry. When I looked at the sewer plan, I realised that the block of land was bigger than was shown on the sewer plan. When I questioned the agent, he said the lady who owned the house had bought a section of land at the back, which used to be a roadway going to a farm.
Yes?
Now, the problem is, apparently when I tracked it all down, the council went to an agent and said to them, you need to sell all these blocks of land off. When you've got the money, transfer all the titles and then you get paid. Well,
Yes.
Apparently he didn't. I have a letter from the council to say that the lady paid X amount of dollars to buy this piece of land.
Yes.
But in 14 years, nobody has been able to track down the title to get it transferred into our name. Now, because of circumstances, we're probably going to have to sell this house. And the same thing is going to happen again because the block
but
of land has got this piece of land at the back.
Yeah, but the problem is you don't own the block of land. The lady you bought from is the person who has the contractual right to the block.
Yeah,
So
but
you-
when we bought it, it was all transferred to us. And
No.
the agent said, one phone call and you'll have the title. Well, it never happened.
Oh, so did your contract of sale include an assignment
Included
of her
this
rights?
piece of land, yes. And when we paid
you
the
need
final
to
payment...
agitate. You need to agitate council because council can apply for a replacement title to the laneway.
Right, okay. Well, I spoke to the council and the council said, I've nothing to do with us. So I just want to know...
Sorry, have you
if
done
I
a
can.
title search to see in
Yes,
whose
I
name?
had. When we bought the house, the conveyancer that did it spent 2 years trying to find a copy of the title. She had people go to the titles office. Nobody could find it.
Well,
And the person who did the subdivision is now deceased, so they can't even go back to him.
All right. Well, let's listen to David.
Okay, my view will be, if you went back 50 years, plans of subdivision left the roads in the parent title. So they would, plans of subdivision now immediately transfer roads to council and create individual blocks. 50 years ago, they were left in the title. So every now and then you find a problem, but it will undoubtedly be a council asset.
Yep.
You can get a list of the council's assets from their website. If it includes the laneway, then they will assert ownership and you can make them fix the problem.
At the very least, you've got an adverse possession claim here, haven't
Well,
you?
you don't have an adverse possession claim against council,
Ever.
ever. So no, it's a question of holding council to account.
Right.
And if you can't get what you want directly with council, talk to the Ombudsman's office. They agreed to sell.
Yep.
They've been paid the money. They haven't delivered.
And there seems to be a bit of a paper trail to that extent. So at
Yes.
least you could establish that.
Yep.
Good luck with that, Steve. That's a really intriguing story and a situation there. I've got to go to this one, David Whiting. Andrew in New Gisborne has called in and have a listen to the title, if you like, of his query. What to do when his lawyer has lost interest?
Oh, that's me.
What do you?
No,
what do
that's
you
Andrew
mean?
from New Gisborne.
Oh, is it? Oh, you know. Okay. Andrew, good morning.
Oh, good morning. You've just summed up my problem completely. We're having difficulty getting in touch with our lawyer, and I just don't quite know what to do. We've called for help, and we don't feel that we're getting any.
It is a complaint addressed at me, Virginia.
Is it?
Andrew is a client.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, this is actually a problem you're having right now.
No, this is
that is playing out live on the radio.
No, yeah, absolutely. From my point of view,
Okay.
it's an issue with delegation, and it's my problem.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So,
Thank you for the timely reminder, Andrew. I shall ring you when I get off air.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm glad one of us can see the humour in this, Virginia.
That actually is one of your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is. Right.
What have you been doing? Why haven't you been calling Andrew? David?
Well, it's a matter which has been going about 2 years.
Right.
It relates to some renovation work which is that every time the work has arisen in relation to the file, I've delegated to someone else in the office.
I see. Also,
So, but you've got to understand, it's my firm.
Of course it is.
So it's my
ultimately
problem.
it's your problem.
Right.
Yeah, Andrew, is that?
So I don't know that I will thank Andrew for the interruption, but I will talk to Andrew
because
when we leave.
someone in the office is going to get their butt kicked. Is that what's going
Which
on
is
here?
going to solve the problem.
Yeah, so
All
I'm
right?
sorry. It's what I meant to say. Solve the problem, but butt kicked came out instead.
Yes.
Andrew, is that satisfactory to you? I think Andrew's gone. Andrew's gone. He's got better things to do.
Indeed.
But at least he rang in. That's genuinely hilarious. Philip in Wodonga, good morning.
Good morning, Virginia. Thanks for taking the call.
No worries.
I'm a single male parent of 2 children. I receive family tax benefit and the disability support pension. I have Centrelink are quick to chase people when they owe money, but when Centrelink make mistakes and underpay you, it seems that they change the legislation to suit themselves and in favour of themselves and make it near impossible to chase that money or to get that money repaid. And
How do they make it impossible to get a refund?
well, they change legislation to suit themselves in time frames. And what am I meant to do? What are us as recipients meant to do? Keep an eye on the Centrelink website for updates and
Can I just
legislation
get to the
changes.
nut of the problem here, Philip? How much money do you say Centrelink owes you?
Over 18 months of $100 a fortnight of care. I did call John Fane and speak to John Fane when John was on air, and John informed me that he used to work for social services, the tribunal, the appeals tribunal, in chasing this, and I do have grounds.
So this is a long-standing problem, is it?
It has been, and I received a letter from Centrelink telling me, and have brought it up again. I received a letter telling me that you're unsuccessful. Sorry, and then so I brought it up again. Now they're bringing in legislation, time frames, and also of late I've accrued a debt through back pay, through no financial advantage to me. But they've done a backdating of my son, who's turned 16 and has applied for Aboriginal study. And they've done the backdating.
What I don't understand is what do you want from me, Philip?
Oh, well, how do we keep up with the legislation and things when we're no Oxford scholars and I believe there is the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, but how does the average Joe Blow keep up?
You don't. You absolutely don't. And there is no easy answer. If you believe that there have been administrative errors in the department, which is what you're suggesting, is that you have the ability to complain to the Ombudsman about the administrative errors. If you are complaining that a decision that has been made which is inappropriate and wrong, then it's my understanding is that your only option is to go to the Administrative Appeals Tribunal.
Philip, I'm sorry this has been such a long-running problem for you, and good luck. I hope maybe you can get somewhere going down that route. Simon in Rowville, what's happening in your life?
Yes, good morning. I have this problem with the developers next door who cleared the block. That's fine. But in so doing, they undermined the side fence, so it's now collapsing.
Yes.
At the same time, they managed to construct an 8-foot-high, 5-ply fence across the front of the property, front of their property, and sort of cut bits off the front of the side fence to enable them to do that.
Yes.
But just left the fence sagging, and eventually it's going to collapse. Originally it was one post was leaning out, now it's 3. It's just progressively degrading.
And is that because they're digging too close to it? What's the issue?
Well, they have dug too close to it. It was a concrete boundary, and they just dug that up with a giant machine, fair enough.
So,
But I undermine,
so what I
undermine
suggest
the
you
fence in
do
doing it.
is take lots of photos, and then it's an application. Then the Fences Act would basically give you the right to say either they pay substantially more than half for a new fence, or indeed that they replace the fence.
Yeah, part of the problem there is, though, that I'm the tenant. I don't own the property. And I'm not really keen on getting the landlord involved because, you know, he's the sort of guy who just doesn't want to be bothered.
But
And
it's
I don't want to end up homeless, to be brutally honest.
why would the fence cause you to be homeless?
Because if you put too much pressure on the landlord, they can always just decide, oh, this is all just too much like hard work. Yeah, sell it, take the capital gain, and you're homeless. That's just how life works.
Yep.
So I'm just not, I'd rather not involve the landlord.
Well, the Fences Act doesn't give you any rights or obligations other than to go to the landlord to get the landlord to deal with it, what you might call urgent repairs.
Right.
Okay.
So I can't go to the police, for instance, or anything like that.
You might write a letter to the building surveyor whose details will be on the front of the screenwork. They're put at the front of the property, and they're undertaking inadequate protection work. So they're required to make sure that there's no damage caused to an adjoining property, and destabilising the fence is the kind of damage that they need to fix. But in the short term, all they'll do is replace it with a temporary fence.
Yeah, look, as long as they keep it secure, I'm reasonably comfortable.
Then talk to the building surveyor.
Right.
Good luck, Simon. We hope that goes well. And Sally and Hawthorn's called in also with a fencing problem we're able to fit in just before we talk finance. Hi, Sally.
Oh, hi. How's it going? I just wanted to quickly call in. We've actually just renovated our backyard and put in a big new fence. It's a big steel thing, and we've got a laneway in between a property that's building some townhouses on the other side of the laneway, and you cannot fit a concrete truck down there or anything, but they are jamming their trucks down there. And we've had one of their contractors say, oh, you know, show us your footage. We've already got cameras there, so now we've turned them around.
Footage of what, Sally? What's going on?
Oh, them hitting our fence.
Oh, sorry, you buried the lead. So they're hitting your fence.
Yeah, they're hitting our fence, and then the actual builders or the builders rep on site has just said, oh, well, I can't speak for them, and, it's got nothing to do with me. I just wanted to know, as the builder, are all the trades not directly responsible to them, and should they not have insurance out on our property if that's something that they're going to do? Because the fence was quite expensive.
Are they coming down their driveway? Are they coming down whose driveway, or is it a laneway?
It's a shared council laneway. It would have been one of the old,
night cart lanes.
Yes.
Yep.
Thinking of something. Yes.
Okay. The problem is that the law gives you rights against the driver of the truck and the driver of the truck's employer.
Okay.
So if you're just simply your cameras are just saying yes, it's knocked my fence. If you haven't got the registration number, that probably doesn't help you very much.
Okay.
So you're going to end up with a whole series of lousy little claims in respect of each nudge.
And I've contacted the council, and they've said, well, there's nothing we can do. Like they've gone to local laws, they've gone to planning, and because, they outsource all the planning.
Well, it's not, if you have a car accident, you're unlikely to be breaking a council bylaw at the time. You may be breaking the Road Safety Act, but not a council bylaw. There's an expectation that people will drive properly. So I don't see that the council's in a position to help you because it's a roadway that's intended for access. It's being used for access. It's just the drivers aren't behaving properly.
Yeah, but they've physically, and we're about to do a renovation that is out to the boundary line that's been approved by council, and when that happens, they won't be able to fit anything down there, but I'm assuming that they're going to try and do it.
So you're going to put a safety fence outside your property to make access more difficult for them, is that right?
No, we're about to also do this.
You're going to build to the boundary.
Yeah, build to the boundary.
Yeah,
yep.
so they're bashing into your house is what you're saying.
Yes.
So they're already bashing into our fence. So my assumption is stage 2 is bash into the house.
You wouldn't go and talk to the developer directly, David, and have a word about these developers, they need to keep good relationships with their neighbours because, you can make merry hell.
Here's the discussion, yes.
Go and have a conversation.
Have all this problem, yep.
Your drivers are bashing into our fence. You don't want that. We don't want that. How do we sort this? I know I sound like Pollyanna, but does that not work?
Generally, no. generally, no.
Okay, it's worked in my times that I've had to do it.
Okay.
Well, I live in an area where there's development going on all the time. You just cross the road and try and have a talk.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm in favour of it. Here's the problem: you're pulling my fence. You're knocking my fence over.
Please don't knock over my fence.
Well, if you think about the problem, it's actually worse than that because what the work that's proposed is not going to make it any easier for anybody.
That's right. No.
Yep.
You offer them, X many bucks a week to have access onto your land. Take that fence away and say, okay, I can give you broader access. It's a narrow laneway, not big enough for your trucks. I'll give you 3 metres, take the fence down, but I'm charging you X many dollars a week and you can do it.
Okay, and what's happening to your garden at this point, Victoria?
Oh, no, there'd be no garden.
No, there wouldn't be by the time
It'd just be a whole lot
of,
of, tractor marks. But
yes.
Hey,
yeah.
There are often several ways to try and skin the cat if the cat wants to be skinned. David, I've got a text here saying that we expect David to put Andrew from New Gisborne's problem to be put on your homework list and for David to report weekly until the matter is sorted.
Okay.
You do not have to agree to that, but
no, I don't mind.
It's an amusing proposal.
Thank you very much.
David, you're a great sport. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
David Whiting there, who will be offering you some new legal advice, some fresh legal advice next Tuesday as well.